All right, welcome to the channel, and today we'll be talking about the Zmf Ori 3.0. And these were sent out by Zmf. They aren't asking me to say or do anything other than my own honest opinion regarding these headphones, nor do they get any say or input into this video that you're watching now. So that out of the way, let's dive into the Ori 3.0. Quick history lesson. The original Ori was actually, it's called something else. I can't off the top of my head think of what the name of it was, but Zach essentially got a takedown notice for, hey, you can't use that name, so he switched it to the Ori, and now we have the Ori 3.0, which is the third iteration technically, because the first one was called something else, but then, or anyways, yeah. So that's kind of like the general history behind it. This Ori 3.0 is using all of Zach's like proprietary kind of tech that he's been building and built over the years and through his experiences in research and development building Zmf headphones. So this is kind of, in a way, the most distilled Zmf headphone you can get right now, I'd say, as far as like a house sound, Zmf house sound, back to the original of what he was making with the Oris originally, the T50RP mods that he did. So what makes these special? A lot of things. I think just that, the history behind it, the fact that it's kind of homage to his original ethos on sound and design, that kind of stuff. But also there's some really cool tech in here. He obviously has all of his tech for the dampening system, the drivers, and all that fun stuff. Another factor is it has this. I don't know if I'll probably do some B-roll, but there's a port here. There we go. There's a port here that you can plug. There's two different options, either, well, three technically. There's a semi-plugged, a fully plugged, and then unplugged. And I'm gonna just say it right off the rip. Unplugged is the way to go. In fact, I'm going to probably title this whole thing as Zmf Ori 3.0 Unplugged because that's the way I liked it the most, and that's the way I listened for a majority of my listening. So let's dive right into build and aesthetic real quick before we get too far ahead of ourselves. Build and aesthetic is classic Zmf. I'm probably going to go pretty quick through this build and aesthetic because it's a Zmf headphone. Either love that wood, metal, and leather aesthetic or you don't. I personally think it's fantastic. It's a classic design. It's really clean, and God, he's just, over the years, he's really like fine-tuned and honed in that design ethos and aesthetic, I think. And these are a prime example of that. Even with it just being, love it or hate it, just the plain wood design, which I think is fantastic. As much as I have my stabilized and all those other things, I love those for their uniqueness, but wood in and of itself is very unique, and each one will have a unique grain and kind of chatoyance. I never pronounce this word right. Chatoyance, which is that shimmer and shine that you see in the wood grain there, and when it's polished, it has that kind of like shimmer and shine. So each one will be unique, which is always a fantastic aspect of the Zmf headphones. And yeah, so yeah, I can't really say much more than that. Comfort is still fantastic. The big plush leather pads, and you can get the vegan pads as well, and the really nice leather strap for your headband here with a nice padding on the part up there to help kind of keep and alleviate any kind of issues as far as comfort. I've never had any comfort issues. They do run a little bit on the heavy side, but that's generally ZMFs in general because you got the big wood, metal, all that fun stuff. So it is going to be on the heavier side. Plus it is a planar driver, which the magnets will add a lot of weight. But with this design that he's done with the strap and the padding the way it is, I've never really had any issues with longer sessions, but everyone will be different. So yeah, that's build and aesthetic and comfort. Back to it. I didn't have any issues with comfort at all. In fact, I find these very, very comfortable. I will say though that on the head, you get this very large, I'm hopefully not talking too loud, but they're very isolating, which is excellent. But very large headphone on your head, but they don't look bad. I think they look fine. They're not they're not slim, sleek or anything like that, but not out of place. So, aesthetic and comfort out of the way. Let's dive right into my thoughts regarding these for listening. And I will say that these are probably some of the most natural sounding planars I've heard. Like, these are fantastic. I do feel like the Caldera closed and the Calderas are technically a slightly more technical or more like, I guess that's that technical headphone. Like they just, the imaging and detail is a little more on the crispier side, a little more on the sharper side, whereas these are a little bit smoothed out. The Ori 3.0s are a little more smoothed out, a little more natural sounding in my ears. And I really like the bass with this, specifically with that unplugged aspect, because with the unplugged, you get a lot more bass out of the headphone. And then when you do the semi-plugged and plugged fully, it kind of moves everything more towards the mids and upper mids and highs, and which has just never really been my favorite thing. I like the even the mids, it's not as focused. I still think that the unplugged has a little bit better mid range just for my preferences. But when it's semi-plugged and plugged, it does seem to move more towards that technical clinical sound that you get with certain other planars. But overall, unplugged has been the way for me. I really, really enjoy the just that naturalness of it. Like it has that sharp cutoff that planars have, but it doesn't seem to be as I guess like razor sharp, or it has a little bit more of like a play to it to some level, and I just really, really enjoyed it. One of the tracks I was listening to a lot was recommended to me by, even though I know this artist, that I have for whatever reason never listened to the song, but it was God, what was it? It was Dominique Feels of Me. Ah, there it is. So it was Dominique Feels of Me, which, as you probably have heard, a lot of other tracks like Birds has been a big one that's been like lauded as one of a really good testing track. But this one is, God, I'm going to butcher this. Moijetami. Moijetami? Moijetami. And that track, I'll link it here, but the Moijetami, I really want to highlight what this track does with these headphones, because it, when I was listening to it and I closed my eyes and just listening to it, it felt like we were like slow dancing, or we were sitting in the center of like the band was surrounding us, but at a pretty decent distance, like on a dance floor. Like there was a dance floor's worth of like, I don't know, like of distance between the center point of where we were, and she was singing to me more intimately, like almost like we were dancing, like a slow dance kind of thing, where she's like right like next to you, or she's like walking around you a little bit, but not quite, like she's just right in front of you. And the band was surrounding us, and it was just like that was the sound, or that the presence that I got. That was the signature sound I got. It was very intimate. It was very just lovely, and it was quite extraordinary to have that experience. And like that's the kind of the biggest walkaway I had as far as like fun experiences with this headphone, was that it could jump from that intimacy and that really nice imaging and stage, where it was just fantastic. So I recommend that song for listening, to get an idea. But overall, the rest of it, I was listening to a bunch of hip hop, a bunch of jazz, blues, all that fun stuff, and pretty normal jump around kind of tracks. And across the board, my big takeaway was Unplugged was the most natural and fun and enjoyable for me personally. I really loved the intimacy of the mids, and that low end had a nice punch to it and grip, and it really held on, and it was really nice with that low end. And then the highs, they have that planar high where they have that sharp crispiness to them, with certain like cymbal crashes and certain instruments, or like brass instruments, that kind of thing, can get a little bit on that planar bright level. But it was never, once again, never really like went over my threshold for what I liked. So really overall enjoyable listen, and I was just really enamored with these. And yeah, that's basically my experience with the Zmf Ori 3.0. They were just a fantastic natural sounding planar, which is rare in my opinion to hear that kind of sound signature on a planar. And I'm usually, I guess you could say, I'm planar sensitive. I'm not the biggest planar guy, because that sharp cutoff and that sharp imaging in detail with the highs on most planars, and the fast factor of that sharpness usually kind of fatigues me or irritates me, and it sounds unnatural. Whereas with the Ori 3.0 and even the Caldera Closed is another one that's fantastic, which I need to do a video on that next, probably, because I haven't done a video on that one yet, and I realize I haven't, and I need to do that. So, but yeah, the Zmf Ori 3.0, just natural. I really enjoyed the natural warmth and punchiness of the low end, and the mids was just this really nice, intimate mids, where it is kind of like the recording is that way. So like other tracks, like mids can be pulled back a little bit, but that's more of the mastering, where this is just highlighting how it was mastered, or the Ori 3.0 is highlighting how it was mastered, which is really lovely. So Yeah, that's my basic experience with the Ori 3.0. Real quick aside, I did use these for gaming, and while they are pretty good at gaming and whatnot, I did find them to be not the most like gaming friendly per se. Like they did great. They have really good imaging, really good detail, and you could like pick across things just as good as any other headphone. Stage wasn't my favorite with these, but it did well, and it like there's nothing with it that would make me not want to use these for gaming. But they are on the heavier side, and I think that for longer gaming sessions, like a lighter headphone would be better. So something like the Boca Open or Boca, or like another gaming headphone. Like I like the Dahlia is probably my top gaming headphone out there right now, and then right below that would be like the Head D1, which I just did. That's another fantastic option for gaming, even though they're not made for gaming. And then on the kind of more affordable price point would be the Meze 8 or 109 AER, or no, the Air AER, whatever, the 105 AER, not that one. That one's fantastic as well. So yeah, those are my recs for gaming. But back to Ori 3.0, fantastic headphone. I'm really, really loving this thing, and it's a nice one to have in the stable and kind of jump around between the different headphones I have on hand. Yeah, so that's the Zmf Ori 3.0. And with that, I'll let everybody have their morning, afternoon, or evening back, and I'm going to get back to some listening and trying not to cry while listening. All right, cheers, everybody. Have a good one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.